Today we're going to learn about a topic similar to our least common multiples that is also needed for fractions, your greatest common factor. So if you remember our least common multiples, we start out with this example of 1/2 plus 3/4. How do I find a least common multiple or a common denominator with those two? I know it is 4, and so this, because I times the bottom by 2, I need to do the same thing to the top. So this 1/2 is now 2/4. This 3/4 stays the same. And I am left with 5/4. And I know from my fractions that this is the same as 1 1/4. However, sometimes we get to that dreaded simplifying fractions problem, such as 3/6 plus 1/6 equals 4/6, and your teacher says, oh, that's not simplified. So we then have to decide, what can I divide the numerator by and the denominator by? And so this will be today's lesson, how we can figure out how this then becomes 2/3, because I'm dividing my numerator by 2 and my denominator by 2. Alright, so again, we're going to use a graphic organizer to help us find the greatest common factor that we'll then use for those fraction simplification. I'm going to pick these two numbers, the greatest common factor between 24 and the greatest common factor of 36. So here I have these two numbers, and what I like to do for my students, this is just an option, but I like to have a graphic organizer using two circles. I do need to change the color of my circles though, so this way, I'm not really liking that. So I'm going to change my fill color. So here I have this red one, and I'm going to have this yellow one. And let me just move this down so it looks more like our Venn diagram. So if you remember, my number was 24. So one side is going to be 24. My other number was 36. So I'm going to make this side 36. And if you remember your lessons about Venn diagrams from English, this is going to be the middle part of what they have in common. So I'm going to label this my common factors. And then I'll list those. So what I'm going to focus on first are, what are my factors of 24? Well, if you remember what factors are numbers we multiply to get this target number. So for example, if I had 8 was my number, my factors would be, what numbers can I multiply to get 8? So we could think of it as question mark times another question mark being a number equals 8. And I know that 1 times 8 equals 8. Every number will always have 1 as a factor and the number you're multiplying every single time. I also know that 2 times 4 equals 8. So here I'm going to see I have 4 factors. I have a factor of 1 and 8. That's 2 factors, 2 and 4. So I have 4 factors for 8. So I'm going to do the same thing, but now with these large numbers of 24. So what can I do? Well, I already said 1 will always be a factor. 1 times 24. I'm going to check, what else do I know? Well, I know that it's going to be an even number. All even numbers have a factor of 2. They can all be divided by 2. You can all multiply. So 2 times what? Well, I know my multiplication tables, and I know 2 times 12 equals that 24. I can also do my little trick of, if I add those digits, 2 plus 4, remember a digit is each number that makes up your larger number. That gets 6, and I know 6 is a multiple of 3, meaning I can divide this by 3. Whenever I add those digits up, if I get a multiple of 3, then I know that I can make my original number also a multiple of 3. So 3 times what? That's going to be 8. Going to check, are there any others? I don't think so, so I'm now going to move on to my other number. Here, again, I know 1 will always be a factor. 1 times 36. 1 in that original number. I see again it's an even number, so I know 2. This one's going to be a little harder. So I'm going to check. I'm not sure what it is, so I'm going to use my division skills to figure out 2 times what, since division and multiplication are inverses. 2 goes into 3 one time. Bring that 2 down because I multiply, subtract. Ooh, I'm getting a little squished here. 6, 2 goes into 16 8 times. Oh, that's right, 2 times 18. I'm going to then check what other numbers might go in there as well. Well, I'm going to try that little fancy trick of adding those digits again. See if it's divisible by 3. I know 3 plus 6. Remember, I'm adding those digits, 3 and 6 together. I get 9. I know 9 is a multiple of 3. I can divide 9 by 3. So I know 3 is going to be a factor of 36. Now I need to figure out 3 times what? Well, I could do the same thing of 36 divided by 3, and I see that's 1. I know I'm going to use my short division this time, so that will be 0. 2 is my next part because 2 times 3 equals that 6. So I know it's 3 times 12. I'm going to check, are there any other ones? Well, I always tell my students that we always want to check 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you're going to get a lot of factors from there. So I'm just going to check 4, see if that is a factor. So if I'm ever unsure, I can just divide my target number by what I think might be a factor. I know 4 goes in that 9 times from my multiplication table. And oh look, I picked up that other factor of 4 times 9. So I'm pretty sure these are all my factors. So now I'm going to check, what are my common factors? Well, I see this is 1, so on each side. So since they're the same, I'm going to put that 1 down here. I'm going to check, well, I don't see any 24s over here, so it's not going to be 24. I don't see, oh, yep, I do. I see that too, because they're both even, so I'm going to list that too. I'm going to check 12, 12, 12. Oh, look, right here. I circle them just to keep track for myself. 3, let's see, a 3. Oh, look, it's matched up with that 12 on the other side. So that's going to be a common factor. And 8, don't see an 8 anywhere, so that's not it. I already crossed out or circled all these numbers, so I know there's not going to be a common factor. Does anyone see a mistake, though? Because I sure do. Look, when I crossed out this 4, I was thinking, oh, there's one over here that I forgot. So I'm going to go back and check. Remember, I always check my work. I know 4 goes into 24 easily, and I know that it's 6. So here, now I can resume. I see that 4. I see that 4. And I'm going to cross out this 6, but oh, wait. I forgot that 6 times 6 is also over here. That is why it's important we always check our work. Because look, when I checked my work, I found that 4 and a 6. I don't have to put this 6 again, even though I see a 6 over here, because I already recorded it down. So now I think I'm finally ready to move on. And now I have all these common factors right here. These are all my common factors. But what I'm looking for is my GCF. That G meaning the greatest. So I'm going to look, what is my greatest factor? I look at that 12 and I think that's pretty much my largest number. So my GCF is going to be 12. And again, that is my greatest common factor. We're going to briefly look at our word, GCF. That G stands for greatest. For greatest, I can think of a synonym to help me remember. It stands for largest. The next part is common. If you remember from least common multiple, common means same. And F for factor. What are factors again? Oh, that's right. They're the numbers that I multiply to reach my target number. So how could I get 24? Well, that could be 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 4 times 6. Let's check. Did I get all of them? Oh, nope. I'm going to use that strategy of adding my digits up. And I see that's 6, and I know 6 is a multiple of 3, so I know 3 is going to be 1 and 8. That's why we always check our work. If you forget one, it's okay, because when you're simplifying your fractions, you're going to check your work again and see, ooh, if you missed one, it will pop back up. You'll have to simplify just another time. So remember, our factors are numbers. I'm using that pound sign to abbreviate. Numbers that we multiply to reach or to get the target number. And I think that will do it all for today. We'll review later on how we use GCF and LCMs to get that simplified fraction when we add.